welcome back to the Prune Tree Podcast. I'm your host, Rebel Ray, and I am so happy to be here. I am grateful for everything that Creator is doing right now. I am live from my studio here. Listen, we're moving up in the world, and that's okay. Change is great. It is the year of transformation, the year of revelation, and the year for creatives and healers to prosper and be in good health and do the things that we're supposed to be doing. So, just walking into our manifestations, really understanding the call, understanding what we're needing to do in this time and space. And this is a very special week. As you can see in the setup here, I have all of some of my favorite maternal books. And I always like to share a great book with you. I read about three, look, I sound like Cat Williams, right? I read about three books at a time. That's just how I read, that's how I roll. I'm really old school when it comes to the book. I want to feel it, I want to hold it, I want to use my imagination to have the author really take me where I need to go. And if you're listening today and you're a sapiosexual like me, lover of books and wisdom, I want to share a couple of books with you. I found this really cool People magazine. I want to show y'all this. Y'all know we need a little bit of prints. Listen, I should have bought two of them. But yes, People magazine put out this special edition about Prince. And I know we're talking about Maternal Health Week, but Prince is just the truth, right? And it embraces the culture of Prince and all of his transformation over his career. I am definitely a Prince lover for so many reasons, but just understanding his swag, understanding the game, and that he was a lover of art. He was a lover of wisdom. He sought out many different uh, wisdom throughout the years, and he was a very high intellectual person. He was very keen. One of my favorite pictures that he was photographed is him with his third eye sunglasses. I think that was really dope to have him here. And so I just welcome our ancestor now, Prince, in this space. We love Prince. And for you new generations who don't understand what it means to have Prince in your album vinyls, because I have vinyls, um, it's truly an honor to listen to him. So I have a couple of books here. One of my favorites is Asada. It's an autobiography by Asada Shakur. She was a revolutionist, she was an activist, and she was an advocate. And she was a little bit before her time, and so we bring her in this space. And of course, I always like my sci-fi, I like my fantasy. It help us determine just the outer rims of who we are as people, as star people, and people of the universe. And so I love when creatives can tell our stories in different ways. And I think Skin of the Sea is one of those melanated tales that you really gotta dive deep into and really understand the purpose of the book. I love it. I'm not going to tell you too much about it, but it's a must read. And I always got my Queen Afua, Ashe. Queen Afua, my Sacred Woman journal. This journal is used along with the actual book. The book serves as a workbook and a guide, but this journal allows you to digest what's in the actual book, and it really works really well. And then this is the Black Girl's Guide to Financial Freedom. Come on, somebody, Ashe. Listen, we gotta monetize a revolution, and it won't be a revolution if it's not monetized. And I always support Black business, women-owned businesses, because we are some of the businesses that we are currently not getting the funding that we need, right? We may not be getting the open opportunities, but there's so many different ways on how you can construct your financial freedom. And over here, if you really know Rebel, you know me to be a philosopher and someone that actually loves philosophy. And so I have the political thought of Plato and Aristotle, one of my favorites. I read that book in middle school. So I was really one of those kids that could be off in the corner. A lot of people knew me to be yakking my mouth, but I was also in a book from time to time. And of course, we have Dr. Maya Angelou. She is our ancestor and our queen mother, full of wisdom. And I remember how elegantly she used to handle a lot of microaggressions during her interviews. If you ever get a chance to look her up on her interviews, she handled herself well with such class, and such being a phenomenal woman as she was a woman of many words but wisdom, right? And so I'm honoring her today, Maternal Health Week. Why I know why the Cage Bird sings. It tells her story of surviving her abuse. And then last, we have Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls. It's one of my favorite books. I read it with my little one, Amaya. It's important to tell the stories. And inside of that book, I've shared it with you before. It's many, many stories of individuals before you came around, individuals that came around before me, to pass down those wisdom keepers that actually did it before and that are currently doing it. And so they have captured their stories. And so I just honored our matriarchs here, with my altar. In every space, I create a small altar to my ancestors, where I pray, I meditate, I guide myself. And we acknowledge those ones that really paved the past for us, and paved the future. And I have my matriarchal statues that I always have with me just to pay homage to the maternal spirit that carry us. As you can see, one of our matriarchs here of the South Side, Miss Mother Dorothy Jones. She is now ancestor, and passed of recently, and so we always uplift her. She was very kind, very strong, very loving towards her family, and I always lift her up. And in honor of our babies, in honor of the stories that we cherish and we carry, of the struggle sometimes that happens in motherhood, I have my shoes. These are some of my first shoes. I'm not going to tell you how old they are, but I don't know who made these, but they were one of my first very shoes. I love them and I carry them as a keepsake, to remind me of my inner child, to remind me of my innocence, because we have to protect our innocence and we have to protect and pray for our inner child. So I'm so glad you were able to join me today. Listen, we have a lot of things that's popping off this week. Let me get into the weeds, because it is important to always let you know what's happening around you. So Black Maternal Week, Health Week actually starts the 11th through the 17th. And through this action, we're supporting coming together with events in San Joaquin. One of the events is happening tomorrow. And if you have the ability to watch live, we're sold out for the in-person. I'm very excited. But we are sold out for the in-person. But it will be at our second annual San Joaquin County Black Maternal Health Symposium. And our theme is Our Bodies Still Belong to Us. Reproductive Justice Now. It's April 11th, 2024. It's going to be happening from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at Health Plan of San Joaquin Community Room. And that's located at 7751 South Matthew Road, French Camp, California. Listen, if you're not able to attend in person because of our capacity, know that you can join live. You can watch live on Reinvent South Stockton's Coalition's page. And that's important because we got to have options, y'all. And we're going to be having a great lineup. Our lineup this year will be including myself. I will be going and talking about our implicit bias and our decision making in Black maternal health and how we can culturally competently handle our Black mothers and support our babies' growth and development. But also talking about the real issues of trusted individuals, trusted medical staff that we need in our hospitals, the use of doulas and CHWs. We'll also be having as our featured guest speakers Brittany Chambers. She is a PhD and a medical health practitioner from UC Davis, and our beloved Anitra Williams, which is Dr. Anitra Williams of actual nursing and chief of staff of Dignity Health. We'll also have Kim Robinson with Black Women for Wellness, who is also supports as a health equity project coordinator of RSSC, Reinvent South Stockton Coalition. And we'll have co-founder Erica Dorsey supporting from Flourishing Families, supporting with the understanding of what's happening in our advocacy efforts. We'll have our Black Infant Health Program Coordinator, Angela Yushabon, and she is an MSW, and she'll be there supporting and uplifting what our San Joaquin County is attempting to do to decrease the mortality rates that we know are very high right now. And we'll have Taylor Wallace, which is a doula for the people. Listen, there will be a special strategic planning session that we want to build a strategy for San Joaquin County. We have to decrease a lot of the disparities that we're seeing. We're going to be needing support in many different ways from many different professionals. And I think at this moment, we don't have a concrete strategic plan. But after this symposium, with all of the individuals that are going to be in that room, we're going to come up with a strategy. And if you are or have been affected by an at-risk pregnancy, whether your baby survived or you lost a mother in this moment, we're lifting you up and listen, you're in our hearts. And we want to hear from you. We'll be gathering more data and connecting all of our families that come into our care to extra services. We're partnering with Dignity Health, Health Plan of San Joaquin, Black Infant Health of San Joaquin, and others to support more services through CHW work, through doulas and lactation specialists. And so we'll be having some breakout rooms, but it will be streamed live. And I love that. I love it. We need more of it. So I also have another, and I'll post all of these flyers on the Prune Tree podcast, Instagram and Facebook pages, so you'll be able to have them. But the Motherland is coming. It's a beautiful breastfeeding group for African American moms and babies, and it's facilitated by Black lactation professionals. It's a relaunch, actually. And so in honor of Black Maternal Health Week, they would like for you to join them. Flourishing Families will be conducting this group in our Birthing Tree lactation room, which I will tell you about in a moment. We're so excited. It'll be Sunday, April 14th, 2024 at 3 p.m. And refreshments and connections will make everything better. It's something about when you're going through, when you're trying to figure out how to support yourselves as a new mother, connect with other mothers. It is synergy that's built. And so that will be at Flourishing Families' new consulting office at the Huddle 110 North San Joaquin Street, in Suite 317. So I welcome you to come. It's going to be an amazing time. We're supporting spaces like this. And I just want to give one last shout out and invitation to come to our grand opening in celebration of Maternal Health Week. Join us for the grand opening of Flourishing Families Incorporated and the Birthing Tree Community Lactation Room. This will be one of the transformative healing spaces that will support connecting services to our mothers, answering their questions, taking deep dives and courageous conversations on what they've been up against and what they're experiencing due to many of the practices in gynecology, in the historical context in American society. We have seen disparities throughout the historical context when it comes to Black mothers and their babies. We've seen them dying at rates now, post COVID, 4 times more than their counterparts. And more data is still coming in, and we're looking to decrease those numbers because we believe in equity. We believe that health should be for all and that life expectancies should be almost the same or not in those margins where we're seeing them now. And so this will be April 17th, 2024. You're more than welcome to come by. We will have our local dignitaries of state and federal, as well as congressional, and as well as the city, just and county, being in space, listening. It'll be a great opportunity to network and uplift your voice. And so that will be April 17th, 2024 from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Location here at Huddle Co-work Space, 110 North San Joaquin Street. And it will be downstairs. Please join us for some beautiful soul food, some connecting and networking. One of our beautiful things we're going to be doing is unveiling a mural that will be dedicated to the mothers using the Birthing Tree Community Lactation Room and every community member that needs a safe space to connect to those services. And this Birthing Tree Community Lactation Room is open in a way where it's free of charge because we're using other funds to support this transformative space. We understand that people heal differently, and that is important to our cause. And so we want to make sure that this space takes precedent right here in central downtown Stockton, in the heart of many different things. We have the RTD Transit located just a block. So if you can't get here, we have some type of transportation to get you here. And so I just wanted to share those things and, just kind of talk about my story and just uplift my story. I haven't told this story in a long time. And when I had my baby, I was diagnosed with full placenta previa. And for you all that don't know what placenta previa is, it is a symptom where the placenta grows over the cervix. And you can see how that can be an issue, especially when you have an active little one that is in your sacred womb. And so I was pregnant, fortunately, through COVID. And I say fortunately because it taught me many, many lessons and opened my eyes as an advocate, as an activist, to what we needed to do to support our mothers. And I'm very vocal about maternal health because, and I want to call out their names. My grandmothers, Dorothy and Katie May, both died due to maternal health issues after having their babies. And my grandmother, Kitty Mae, my maternal grandmother, rest her soul, um, you know, died, and then her twins died shortly, and it was devastating to our family and our extended family for many generations. And at times when we talk about trauma, when we talk about recovering, when we're talking about the issues that we're seeing with our birthing people, it's hard to kind of talk about these things, especially when it impacts the family unit in a multi generational fashion. And I remember even how my paternal grandmother, with issues after having her last son, my uncle, had fell ill due to the blood condition that was happening with her after she had him. And slowly, we saw, um, um, you know, when I say we, our family, my father saw his mother pass away. And so when I went through this diagnosis, it was a very scary thing. I prayed often to my grandmothers. I prayed for strength. I prayed that I could see my son. And my son being now I know a very special son. He was born in a golden year. And I'm always believing in, I look at numerology and I look at the signs and I look at different things that help guide us. And my son had to be born 36 weeks. He couldn't be held to full term. It was my first major surgery. I never had any type of surgery, breaking of the bones. And I remember laying there and getting prepped for surgery. But before I did that, I thought about all of the times before they rolled me into that surgery room. I thought about all the times that I even struggled within the pregnancy. COVID was devastating to a new mom because we were in isolation. Um, we couldn't get the help that we needed. Um, we first started going into isolation, and family members couldn't mix. And I remember feeling very alone. I felt saddened at the fact that I couldn't have a big baby shower. And I decided to have my baby late in my late 30s. And it was a moment, even when I was going through my issue, that I began to hemorrhage. I hemorrhaged so bad one time, and I kept it from my doctor because I didn't want to be locked up in the hospital. At that moment in time, they were not letting anyone visit you. And I remember how profoundly sad I was because I'm a people person. I connect. I love on people. And so when I was isolated in that way and I only had my nursing staff, I remember asking, can I just go out into the atrium? And I was here at a local hospital here trying to recover and support what was happening with my body. And I was very scared. And I haven't really told this story in its entirety. It profoundly affected my perception of even the loopholes and some of the things that I know, even as a clinical social worker, knew that the hospital staff and the connectedness I should have had, but it was in a way where it was so scary for me. I hemorrhaged out on my 30th birthday, and it was a very hard birthday. My 35th birthday was a very hard birthday, and I remember waking up in a pool of blood and thought I was losing my baby. I got up, I bathed, and my doctor told me if you hemorrhage again like that, we're going to keep you in the hospital until you have the baby. and I was about a month out before the baby. They wanted to induce and take the baby. And I say all of that because now I'm so grateful to my journey. I'm so grateful to speak and stand in my truth and my power and understand why it's important to be an advocate, why it's important to stand up and tell your truth, because you can be saving someone else's life. And the reason for the hemorrhaging, the baby was so active at night. I had a twilight baby. He was very active between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. And he almost looked like some type of other being, as he used to poke through the stomach, and he was just so active. But I remember laying there and praying that the baby be safe and the placenta stay intact, and that I don't lose the baby through my cervix because of where my placenta grew. And it was a very scary moment. And in that moment, when it came time to give birth, I remember going to the hospital, not knowing if I was going to make it or not. They had asked for some couple of cc's of blood to be on standby just in case I hemorrhaged out during surgery. But I thank God for a praying mama. She was right there. She held my hand. She spoke life into me. And I thank God for a surgeon. She was a Black doctor who understood what was happening with me. And I cried and cried and cried and asked Creator not to allow me to transition while I was trying to birth this baby. And went in worried. And in that moment, I had a dual surgery that needed to happen. Not only did I have to have a C-section, but we also had to remove a cyst on my ovary where I will potentially lose my ovary. And it was a cyst. They didn't know how large it was. They did an ultrasound and they saw it, but they didn't know how large it was. And so I remember laying on that table and the doctor talking with me, saying that, hey, we're cutting you now. And I remember a tug and a pull. And I remember an essence as feeling like it was a pulling from my body. And I heard him. I heard him. And it was a sigh of relief. My mother didn't let go of my hand. I thank Sister Ruth. For many of you all that know Sister Ruth, she was praying. And she prayed, and in that moment, we cried. And they took care and saved my ovary. And I was very grateful for that. And I was able to see the cyst, and the cyst was the size of a large egg that it had grown on. And in that moment, I really just cherished the journey. I cherished that we made it, but that journey wasn't done yet. And because of COVID, usually with a cesarean or a surgery in that way, they try to keep you up to 5 days, especially for a first mother. But I was discharged in almost 2.5 days and sent home to kind of bandage and heal my wounds with a new baby. The pain was intense. Many women who have had C-sections, we have different pain tolerance. And I don't know how I made it through. But I had my ancestors with me. I felt my grandmother's spirits, and they stayed with me in at the time into the guest bedroom where I couldn't walk up the stairs. So I think about all those things. I think about our maternal health, and I think about the stories that I hear when mothers have not made it out with their babies. Having a baby is a very sacred time. It is a sacred time. When I was talking to a doula, it's like 1 foot in the grave and 1 foot out. Anything can go wrong. Um, but I was so grateful that I survived that experience, especially with the several hemorrhaging that I was going through. And I want to take some space to lift up babies, lift up mothers that have not made it. And I know with this podcast, it's been even a transition to even tell my stories, because I only tell them when I know I'm healed enough to tell the story. And I have been able to really tell this story in full effect. And I'm glad that you were able to be with me here today. And if you know a mother that needs services, that need to be connected, please reach out to our health equity coordinator at Kay Robinson at rsscoalition.org. It is important that we connect every at-risk pregnancy to services and advocacy, because every baby counts, every mother counts, every family counts. And I want to thank you today for sitting with me in this most intimate podcast. I hope that you would join me every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And for my followers who are saying, Rebel, we need to see you. Rebel will be here. I have a great team that is working with me, and they're encouraging that this truth go out. This space is for lived experiences. If you're wanting to join me as a guest here in my studio, please join me and email me at the.prunedtreepodcast@gmail.com. And I hope to see you soon. Blessings.